Coming up on today's DLLS Stars show, we have breaking news on Jason Robertson's knee injury, aka lower body injury. We will talk about that right off the hop, along with myself, Craig Ludwig, Sam Nestler, and Sean Shapiro, and John Andersen. The whole gang's here. Let's get it started.
Get ready, boys.
Yep, that is a ominous look to say the least. This is the DLLS Stars Podcast. We are live on a Friday, April 18th, on the day before the playoffs officially begin, not just for the Stars, the entire league. Day one, tomorrow, Saturday. As you can see, we have the full gamut today. Sean Shapiro, Sam Nestler, Craig Ludwig, John Andersen. I'm Owen Newkirk. Thanks for joining us. Sam, we're going to start right with you because you are in Frisco. You're hanging right around the little Stars Hall of Fame display, which is right where they face going out to the ice. So we said, I was there at practice, had to leave before they talked to Pete DeBoer because it was a longer practice than I anticipated. And then a pretty long media availability with the players, lots of cameras there. Everybody's excited about the postseason. And then the big question. So what do you have for us?
Yeah, Mike Heika we didn't wait. We asked right away what the status was for Jason Robertson, who suffered the lower body injury in the finale against Nashville. Pete DeBoer said he is week to week with the lower body injury, will not play game one. He was pushed a little more to say, could he be back in the series? And Pete kind of smirked it off and said, if the series goes longer than a week, then we'll talk about it then. But saw Robo here, train it with the trainers, got a sleeve on his knee. He's walking, not on crutches or anything like that. So it's week to week, as we know right now. And it's another hit to this team as they wait for Colorado to come into town tomorrow for game one.
Sean, that leads me to me asking you, should we believe Pete DeBoer? He's always been very straightforward. Obviously, you talk about lawyer speak, but he usually doesn't intentionally mislead when in his media availabilities. Is anything different about it being the day before the first game of the playoffs?
I mean, that Jason Robertson is week to week, or that he won't play tomorrow? Because I think I think those two things are very potentially different. He's definitely not playing tomorrow night, but he is. The injury happened on Thursday, the injury happened on Wednesday night in Nashville. Wednesday night is the same night as game two, so technically 1 week from Wednesday would be game three of the series. So that's a week. So it's kind of that whole kind of line of messy timelines that you can throw out there. The one certainty is he's not playing tomorrow. That's how I would take it.
You agree? Les has got a smirk on his face already.
No, it's just like, here's how it goes. It goes when somebody's hurt. It goes day to day, 7 to 10, week to week, month to month. See you next year.
Yep.
He's in the next category from you. Everybody's skipping over 7 to 10. It's going week to week. So
week to week usually.
I'm just going to tell you. I'm just going to tell you what it means. So that's what it means.
Yeah.
So again, it's the playoffs. So you can kind of take it with a grain of salt, maybe. And as far as Pete saying. I guess Pete's saying there's going to be a sweep. Dallas is going to sweep them because he said if he's not back in a week, we'll see you against Winnipeg.
I mean, how do I sign up for that? That'd be great.
Yeah, exactly. I'm in.
Sam, let's get to the other reporting from the practice and from the availability with the players and with Pete DeBoer, and then we'll talk more about the ramifications of Robertson, et cetera. So what were some of the other things you gleaned from either player or coach availability today?
Yeah, first I'll just stick with the injury updates. Miro Heiskanen status quo. Nothing further on Miro. I got here early today, and Miro was on the ice with Nils Lundqvist, which was a surprising sight. to see. They were doing very light work. I will say that. Rimming some pucks around the boards, a little bit of skating. It was really, really not a lot of pace, not a lot of pushing. Nils Lundqvist specifically was mostly shooting with one arm, kind of protecting that shoulder. So for Miro, status quo, the next step still remains to get him integrated to the team in some way, whether that's a morning skate, a practice, whatever it might be. And then on the flip side, the Nils Lundqvist one was interesting. I asked Pete about that, and he said Nils Lundqvist is nowhere close. But if they were to get further into the playoffs, he could come back into the conversation and be a possibility, which I just thought was interesting, because I understand that season ending doesn't always mean year ending if you make it all long run into the playoffs. But for the most part, those two things kind of go hand in hand, or at least in my mind, they did. So to see him out here is great, just for Nils too. Take away the fact that he could play at all, just to see him back on the ice again, skating. He's with Miro. They had the e-bug out here doing some work. So as far as this series goes, Miro Heiskanen has not really moved any closer to playing in the last couple of weeks. He's been out here on his own. He's been doing the stuff off the ice, but as far as the on ice stuff goes, we have no reason to report that he is trending towards skating with the team and increasing things very heavily.
To me, honestly, I'm almost a little surprised that Nils could be a possibility if they go long enough in the playoffs, because I just assumed we wouldn't see Lundqvist until next year. And then, of course, if he is healthy enough at that point, we'll see where the Stars are at, if they can get to there, and where their decor is at. Sam, just because Sean loves talking about lines and combinations and stuff, one thing that I did notice this morning that was interesting was that Lian Bichsel was playing with Alexander Petrovic again. And I know that they're not doing the line pairings 1, 2, 3, 4, where you can kind of pick out the forward groups. But it does kind of make you wonder, are they going to go with the Petrovic-Bichsel pairing for game one rather than have Matt Dumba in the lineup, especially with who we saw playing the points of the power play groups today?
I fully expect it too. Before Sean jumps in and hates on the lines, I fully expect it to be Petrovic in the lineup tomorrow. The way they ran it, unless we're going to be blown away and Brendan Smith, Matt Dumba is going to be the third pairing tomorrow. I'm half kidding, 90% kidding on that. It looked like Petrovic Bichsel would be what they're going to go with. And Pete said, he was asked about it, he said he likes the size of Petrovic, long stick, good reach, very simple player. We saw it last year in the playoffs when he came in. He doesn't make a ton of mistakes. He doesn't play a complicated game. He's big. He can take up some space. I think when he's playing and he's comfortable, he does what Luds loves pretty well, and he likes to clear guys out and use his size to open up some sight lines for the goaltenders. So I think that pairing could be, they're comfortable. They've played together. They know each other well. They're very friendly. They get along really well. That stuff can be important for a guy, especially for a guy like Bichsel, who has hit a bit of a bump. He understands, the team understands he's not playing his best hockey right now, and this could be a boost for him. And then, as you mentioned, the power plays, I'll just go over that real quick. Thomas Harley was back on that first power play unit today, and actually Esa Lindell was quarterbacking that second unit. And Pete said it's probably going to be a 90 to 100 seconds for Harley, and Lindell coming out towards the end there, which it goes right with what he said. It's why he didn't want to have the 5 forward power play on the second group, because he is afraid of, especially against Colorado, who's coming out there on the ice when the Colorado penalty ends. It's going to be Nathan MacKinnon. So having a good group out there with Lindell and responsible defensive group to sustain some pressure in your own end if you have to at the end of a power play is going to be important here. So that's what we're looking at the moment. And it's just crazy to think, like, every day with this team right now, things have changed so drastically. The last couple of weeks, we're looking at lines and pairings, and all of a sudden everything has just been different. So very fluid going into this series, and I expect to see some things change, and Pete is not going to be afraid to mix up some things if he's not seeing what he likes.
Sean, you had your finger up when Sam was giving us the updates.
I was just laughing at, like, I know that everyone here is hoping that means for sure Petrovic and Bichsel tomorrow, but at the end of the day, it's the Stanley Cup playoffs, and we hear all the time about veteran savvy and everything like that, and neither of those four individuals are actually on the power play units. So it wouldn't be like, I hope that it's 6 and 28, but if it's 2 and 3 out there, it wouldn't be surprising either. So I guess the question is, are we going to trust Pete on practice that he's actually on who he's actually playing? Because it wouldn't surprise me either way based off how teams make decisions this time of year.
Luds, let's ask you about the power play stuff real quick. Since we saw what we did over the last couple of weeks, 5 forwards, Harley getting rested a couple of times, are you surprised at all? Glad to see Harley with the first group. Of course, no Robertson there today, so they had, Rantanen with Duchesne and Johnston. And then, Sam, who was the fifth? Was it Jamie?
Harley, Hintz, Duchesne, Johnston, Rantanen
was the other one.
Yep.
But Harley back in there, Granlund on the second group, Lindell at the blue line.
I never thought we were going to see 5. I just don't no. And Essa, what does Essa do? Essa gets the puck at the point, and he throws it to the net, right?
He's underrated at his power play abilities. He's better than people give him credit for.
Exactly, and you're playing against a team that you don't want to give up a shorthanded goal and chase these guys. So Harley's going to be able to take up, like they talked about. Thomas can play the minutes. You know where it all comes into play is your entries. How many times are you going to make sure you make the right entry so you don't have to chase down to the other end of the rink and get Thomas Harley that has to go all the way down and pick it up, and then go all the way down and then come all the way back down and pick it up. So make it easier on everybody else. And when they play a little bit more direct, they end up getting more opportunities. So, and for, like I said, for Essa, he makes the right pass right away. Very rarely do you see Essa have a puck more than a second or two on his stick, right? It gets off and it gets where it goes. And so these are going to make a pass to somewhere. He's going to get it at the net. And I agree. There's no way in the playoffs against a team like this that you're going to put a 5-man unit out there at the end of your power play and have the extra 30, 20 seconds. Now, if you're down a goal or something like that, and it's, one of those kind of situations, I could see that.
Guys, I watched, let's get back to Robertson and we'll talk more about the other observations and stuff. Sean wasn't on the show yesterday, but we spent a bunch of time talking about how you deal with not having Jason Robertson in the lineup, because all of our assumptions were based on him leaving the arena with a brace on Wednesday was, well, he's probably not playing on Saturday, right? Game 1. And we'll see after that. It looked like yesterday's predictions were spot on at practice today. Now, John, you made up a graphic of Luds doing some changes.
Well, go with what you guys.
So this is what totally, your thoughts.
This is totally off the wall. And the reason, John, can you go back to when you had 64 and 63 up there? But do you have that graphic? Well,
He's looking at you like, I don't think there's another one.
Oh, I thought you guys had that one made up. Okay. The only reason I said
that was from the last game.
Well, 63. I mean, they had Granlund on one side and Dodonov on the other with Hintz.
Yep.
I'm okay with that. But I'm looking at where do you leave Hintz and all this stuff? It's kind of like a guy on an island. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those two guys. But when I looked at it like this, I thought, well, now at least you've got, from an opponent standpoint, there's two lines you got to be aware of a little bit more than when you have Hintz not playing with top players. And again, Rantanen has if ever, played on his left side. So this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting there, if I'm in the room and I'm trying to make up lines about we need some offense, what can you go to? This would be plan C or D for anybody. And it might even be a plan. But I'm just trying to look at what you could put together if you needed a little bit more bounce somewhere. And you may have to enter this whole playoff thing going, there's our top line, and the other 3 lines we're going to make, we're going to try to generate things and take advantage of the power play, but we're not going to get scored against.
Sam, what'd you see from practice today as far as who's with who?
Yeah, so it had, as Les just said, Granlund and Dodonov were up at that top group. Granlund was on the left, Dodonov on the right, since both those guys are able to play either side. And then the Marchment line stayed the same with Duchesne and Sagan, the Ben, Johnston, Rantanen, and then Beck, Steele, Bork with Blackwell as the extra. So I'm with Luds. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet, the top group. There's a few options there. You could go the all Finn line with Granlund, Rantanen. There's a few different options, but that's why I really want to say I think Pete, especially with the Robo injury and what's going on, I think he's going to be very, very much paying attention to what's going on, and I don't think he'll give too much runway for any of these things because you don't have the runway anymore. And a lot of these guys have either not played together or have played together very little. So if it goes out there and it's 25, 30 minutes, it's not working, I would not be surprised to see some changes in the forward groups. And Marchment, Duchesne, Sagan is probably the only group that is going to stay the way it is. Maybe that fourth line, depending on how they rotate guys with Dodonov and those guys moving around. But I'm really interested to see that top line, if that's the way they keep it for tomorrow, because I just don't know what to expect from it. There's two very smart, creative wingers with Rope. Maybe it works, and we're sitting here and feeling good about the top nine because that's the way it is. And I just feel, I said it yesterday on the show, Johnston in that third line center spot is dangerous because of where he is there, because of the matchups he may get against Colorado, especially in a home thing. It just feels like that makes them a deeper team rather than having to pull him up and maybe put Granlund in the center. To me, that feels like the better option. So this is at least how they're going to start it out, it looks like, and really interested to see what it looks like tomorrow.
All right. Thank you, Sam. Sean, I'm going to get your reaction to all this and the other side of the break. Jason Robertson out week to week with a lower body injury suffered in game number 82, will not play game 1 against the Avalanche. We'll talk more about that in a moment here on DLLS.
Just like your Dallas Stars need a home ice advantage, your home team needs a floor advantage every once in a while too, but Dallas really needs home ice advantage here. And Empire Today can help you. Empire Today has dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. Empire Today lives and breathes flooring, and they're with you every step of the way. It's a whole different ballgame. Get measurements taken and have all your questions answered so there are no surprises. With Empire Today, you get clear, upfront, and all-inclusive pricing. Plus, you can schedule installation as soon as the next day. Schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. DLLS listeners can receive $350 discount when using the promo code DLLS. That's right. $350 off. Discount. Use that code DLLS. Restrictions apply. Visit Empire Today for full details.
Let's talk about game time and the fact that game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs starts tomorrow night in Dallas, Stars and Avalanche, and you need game time if you don't already have your tickets and you want to go. It's not just that Game Time uses sports tickets, because they have the same for concerts, theater, stand-up comedy. But obviously Game Time and sports is a big deal, and I'm looking at some very big options, but they're out there and some good deals for playoff pricing right now for Game 1 tomorrow night at American Airlines Center, and you need Game Time because Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks, which curates everything. You get great tickets, incredible deals. You don't have to go through all the fluff of looking through thousands of seats. You get the super deal right up in front. You can see the cheapest stuff. You can see all-in pricing, everything you need. Download the Game Time app by taking the guesswork out of buying tickets using Game Time Picks. You create an account. Use the code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code DLLS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Luds, what time is it?
Oh, it's game time.
All right. Sean, your opportunity now to weigh in on all things. It doesn't have to be line combination drivel, as you certainly feel that way, but more about how Dallas does seem to have some depth. If they're going to lose their number 1 goal scorer for at least the first game, and the way Pete said, a week or two, maybe the first round, they seem to have enough pieces to at least, I mean, look, there's no sugarcoating this. Losing Jason Robertson hurts, but some other teams, if they lost a top line winger, would be more severely incapable of having the fill-ins be the kind of impact players. Basically, I think the Stars are deeper than other teams at forward.
Yes, and that's the reason that people I know who cover the Avalanche, when they look at how the Avalanche could lose this series, it's the forward depth. Even with the pending Gabriel Landeskog return, and I know I saw Jared Bednar, as we were on the air here, said that Landeskog is an option for all of round 1, which I love the way coaches just find fun ways to say how players are available or aren't during the playoffs. That's always fun. But like, if you go line by line on this, so even if Landeskog's back in, the Stars' third line is one where we're talking about. It's got Ben on paper. Ben Johnson Rantanen is your quote unquote third line on paper. Colorado's third line is Yoel Kiviranta, Charlie Coyle, and Ross Colton. There's a big difference there between kind of how things play out. So the Robertson injury is not nearly as bad. I think we're also all kind of numb to injury impact, where there's no injury that could hurt as much as the Miro Heiskanen injury. So any injury, like if Miro had never gotten hurt, I think we're all panicking a little bit more. But because Miro had gotten hurt and they've dealt with that injury and everything, it's like, yeah, well, you're still dealing with that. And you're getting Tyler Seguin back. So it almost feels like a 1-for-1 almost with Jason Robertson being in. I think that's why there's less panic about him being out, because of it's not going to break the entire team and the way they play. So yeah, the Stars are a good deep team. Let's call it what it is. They have a chance to win this series because of how deep their forwards are, and they have the better goaltender. So and maybe that's a segue, Owen, or maybe it's a non sequitur, depending on who picks up the line next year.
Well, I could easily turn that into a segue for defense or goaltending, but I want to ask Lutz one more question about Jason Robertson. We'll talk more about Robo as well, but the impact of not having him. We've talked about line combinations and who can go here and there. Power play, overarching, not having your number one goal scorer in the lineup to play a Colorado Avalanche team that also has some offensive firepower.
Well, I think when you look at the two head coaches, advantage Jared Bednar, because now your matchups look a little bit different, what you're trying to do. And I think for Pete, he may have to be a little bit more creative, and he may have to look for some offense should they need it. And especially when you get on the road. I mean, again, that's what a lot of this has to do with the matchups in these games. So, for him being out of the lineup, the first thing I think of is the power play. Immediately, I think of the power play and what Robo can do on there, and the way he gets pucks through and shots through. And, he's one of those options when you look at it, because when you look at the guys in the power play, and you have Rupe and Rantanen and Robo and whoever the next forward is, you kind of know what the other guys do. I mean, maybe Rantanen's got to be more of a shooter now, because he is more of a passer. Just going to ask you that. Well, I would say somebody has to take over that.
Because Robo he and Harley are the two shooters on that group.
and Rantanen likes to be either up at the top of the circle and he goes down to the goal line, or he likes to be down low and he gets that nice little pass. So I would think that there will be some more little dink passes to Hintz in that low slot area where they can make them little play. But again, from a penalty killing standpoint, from player standpoint, there's a weapon you don't have to worry about taking away as much as you normally do, because your coverage changes a little bit more when you have where Hintz can shoot it. The other thing is you get Wyatt out there. I mean, maybe that adds a little bit more, because you have to be aware of what Wyatt does. I just think that it's tough. And the thing about Robo is he does it from his normal side. He doesn't do a lot, not a ton from the offside, especially with Rantanen out there, because now he's on that side of the ice, which makes it even more impressive. But if you put Wyatt in that kind of a shooting place all of a sudden, to me, then I would change my coverage, how I would have to, be concerned about him like I was about Robertson being there.
All right, we're going to talk about goaltending and defense comparisons, because we spent a lot of time yesterday and the beginning of the show talking about the forwards between the Stars and the Avalanche. But we need to give the other positions their due in this preview before tomorrow's game one. So let's start with goaltending. Sean, it seems to be a consensus that Dallas has a decided advantage in that category. Now, there's a difference between Mackenzie Blackwood and Scott Wedgwood and Alexander Georgiev and Justus Anunen. And I don't even remember the last time an NHL team swapped out both of its goalie tandem during the season like Colorado did this year. They weren't happy with things. They made changes. Blackwood and Wedgwood are an upgrade, I think, from the two they had. But there are some question marks when it comes to the Avalanche goaltending, both on current form. For Blackwood's their number one. They signed him to a long-term extension, and they know what they have in Wedgwood. We all love Scott Wedgwood. He's a great guy, good goalie. But let's face it, if it's Wedgwood versus Oettinger, that's definitely advantage Stars. Mackenzie Blackwood's 28 years old. He had a very good save percentage on a bad San Jose team this year before the trade, and he maintained that with a much better Colorado team. But what strikes me, Sean, is that there are questions about his ability coming out of the Colorado camps, whether it be media or fans, but he's never played a Stanley Cup playoff game. Does that count for something?
It does. I mean, to an extent. Now, what is Jake Ottinger's greatest playoff success? It's the Calgary series. Jake had never started an NHL playoff game before that series. So we can't talk out of both sides of our mouth and pretend that a goalie making his first series game 1 start is automatic recipe for failure, because Jake Oettinger's playoff career has never been better than his first playoff start. So we can't. But I will, for Blackwood, for me, and this is where I hyper focus on this, and it's not the playoffs. It's not the fact that his only playoff experience in his career is back in the ECHL in 2018. For me, for as much as we want to talk about the Stars struggling and going in and losing like they did, and we've talked about that over and over and over again, Mackenzie Blackwood has started 4 games in the month of April. He's allowed 15 goals on 113 shots. That's an .867 save percentage in his last 4 starts in April. You talk about the Stars having to flip a switch, and that's fine. They do have to flip a switch, but Mackenzie Blackwood is playing at a level right now that is not just below average; it is incredibly below average. So you have a position, you have a spot that was already considered a weaker point for that team that has to find it and find it really fast. So if I'm Colorado, I might have a really quick hook on Mackenzie Blackwood based off what I saw the last 4 starts for him. Scott Wedgwood outplayed him down the stretch too. So it's that to me could be a great, I don't know if equalizer is the right word, but it's April has not been good for this goalie.
But it's not just April. So Luds, I looked this up really quickly. Since the Four Nations face-off ended, so the resumption of play was late February, the 22nd of February. Blackwood is 8-6-1 in 15 starts with an .899 save percentage. Compare that to Jake Oettinger. He's 10-6-2 with a .904. Neither of those really jump off the page. .904 is better than .899. Jake has more wins, which is a good thing. But the guy that stands out the most, or guys, is the backups. Scott Wedgwood in 10 starts, .924 save percentage, 1-8-1-1. Casey DeSmith, 5-2-2 in 9 starts, .920 save percentage. Why do you think in the last couple of months the backup goalies have had better numbers than the starters for these two teams?
I get a kick out of this whole conversation because when Sean's talking, if you didn't mention Colorado or a goalie's name, I wouldn't even know which goalie you're talking about. Because if you guys think Jake has been good and we're talking about Blackwell not being good, Jake has not been good. So are we hoping that Jake turns the switch on and he's yes, we are.
Yes.
Because now with Robo out, Miro not there, who becomes your most important player? Which it should be anyways, but it's got to be Jake. And and again, I agree with the whole Blackwood thing, but I think there's more there, and it's all going to come back to me about territorial play, and hopefully that you do spend more time there down at the other end of the rink and put some more pressure on the goaltender down there, which leads in just the little things like we talked about yesterday. Puck's got to make sure your puck management is going to be huge in this, but yeah, the backups have been good. I mean, I think that, or at least Otter has not been where he is. Casey DeSmith, I think, has been great. But then again, you look at his last couple of games, those haven't been great. But I'm not always putting it on those guys. I beat this up enough. They're getting some high-quality chances against it, things that shouldn't be happening. So there's a lot going in here, and we're going to find out if you can actually flip a switch.
We are.
I mean, we talk about the switch and all this kind of stuff. You know what? And I said, if you come in here and you're rolling, like you want to be one of these teams that played your last 10 games and you're coming into the playoffs and you're 8-2 or, you're 7-1-2, whatever it may be, it doesn't mean anything. The playoffs are completely different. I would rather be that team than a team is on the end of it trying to fix everything, all the chaos that's been going on. That I would rather be on the end of that. So this is, to me, this has got to be a coaching job.
Let me ask you this analogy real quick, and bear with me. The regular season form, as you just talked about, how you play the last little bit going into the playoffs to the postseason is analogous to how you do in preseason games versus how you start the regular season. Because we've talked about it before. Preseason games mean nothing, right? They're important for individual players. You want to get your big group in toward the end to start to build up. But we saw in 2015-16, the Stars went 1-6 or 1-7 in the preseason, and everyone said, oh, it doesn't matter, but then secretly going, oh, man, I hope it doesn't matter. And then Lindy Ruff's team went off, and they had a huge start, and they went wire to wire leading the Central, and they were the first-place team. So that was really good. Is that similar? Like, are these games, as we talked about it, they were glorified preseason games the last couple with guys being rested. Is the form of the end of the regular season comparable to those are preseason? It just doesn't matter for the playoffs.
Not for me, because from the neck up, I think they're fragile. Dallas. If a goal goes in early or one of these, a soft goal goes in early, it's like, here we go. Because, again, I would rather have my headspace in a good spot. There's certain things you can't just clear off your plate. You can't clear off what's been going on around here for a while. And Colorado not coming in on fire either. I think they played 500 in their last 10 games. So, you know, again, they're going to be healthy. Had a couple more days off, all this other kind of stuff. So, to me, there just had to be a good conversation with the group and said, yeah, we're not here. Here's how we got to play. Here's what we got to do. We got to commit to doing these kind of things, and we'll see. I honestly have no feeling how these first couple of games in Dallas are going to go. I'm very interested to see how the first 10 minutes go in game one. I don't want to see a goal go in the Dallas Stars net in the first 5-6 minutes and have that tone, because then all of a sudden I think as a team that came in the way the Stars did, it's like, oh no. You know what I mean? Even though you're at home and you play well at home, but the bottom has fallen out even at home a couple times here lately. So, and you like I said, I just think there has to be a game management. There has to be a lot of management with the puck against this club and frustrate these guys, because once they get their flow going back and forth, and again, they're a little bit different team, like we said, talked about down the middle of the ice. So you may not get a lot of easy chances going the other way on these just because their structure has changed a little bit.
Well, let's talk about that and how the defense stacks up next here on the DLLS Stars podcast. First, let's talk about Sleeper. It's the best fantasy league platform out there. Put your puck or your ball knowledge to the test by picking whether your favorite or least favorite players will have more or less than their projected stats each week. So I'm in the Sleeper app right now, just skimming through, looking for tomorrow, the first games of the Stanley Cup playoffs. You could go with Nathan MacKinnon, more or less than 3.5 shots on goal. If you went with more, 1.68 times your money, less 1.9. I think he's going to be shooting the puck a lot. And I also might be intrigued in this Wyatt Johnston, more or less than 0.5 goals. If you go with more and he hits tomorrow night, 2.88 times your money. With Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. If you think you have what it takes, new users can download the Sleeper app, use the code DLLS Stars, and get $55 in free entries when you place a $5 contest. Apply it to any contest. Doesn't have to be your first. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Now let's talk about Ownwell. Owning property comes with plenty of challenges. Ownwell should not make you have to stress about overpaying for property taxes. Why? Because they believe that it comes to paying property tax, you should only pay what's fair. So what you do? Well, you sign up. It takes easily 3 minutes, only a few details, and they do everything. I really like this. Start to finish, they deliver top results. There's no upfront costs. Only pay if you save. 86% of Ownwell's customers receive a reduction, with average customer savings of $1,100. That's a big deal, especially with everybody so busy. Have Ownwell do it. You can let them handle all the work. The deadline to protest is May 15th for most counties. Save money on your property taxes with Ownwell. Sign up in less than 3 minutes and start your protest today at ownwell.com/DLLS. That's OWNWELL.com/DLLS. Okay, our pod continues. Sean, I always ask the first goaltender question. So, Leds, I'm going to give you the first defense question. When you look at these two teams and their blue lines right now as they stand, knowing that Miro Heiskanen is injured and not expected to be available, I think, for this series, but especially for the early games of this series, we talked about the groups, the pairings. Maybe you're going to see Bichsel. Maybe you're going to see Petrovic in. Maybe Dumba doesn't get in the lineup. Maybe he does. Now, Cale Makar is clearly the number one player on both of these two blue lines. No doubt, right? He's probably going to win the Norris Trophy. He's a fantastic player. We all know that. How do these groups stack up, knowing what we know about these two teams?
Well, you're talking about question marks with Dallas. There aren't any with Colorado. So, and when you talk about Cale Makar, the reason he's able to do what he does is because of Taze, his partner, who is a solid D guy, can get up in the play also. Gerard, I believe, is probably, you'd say he's in the second pair. Then Manson's back. So now they have some more weight over there. So, for me, I think that their decor is fit for their team because of Makar, and Gerard can get up in the play and still be, he's a little water bug out there. I look at their left side. I look at the Dallas Stars right side, and I think that they have to make a point of trying to enter on that side of the ice.
Going after Taves, Gerard, and Eric Johnson.
Go after Taves, go after Gerard, go after Johnson. Johnson's not one of the fastest guys out there. And now the other side of the coin on that would be every time Cale Makar is on the ice, you want to soft chip it behind him. And you want him to go get the puck, and you want to finish on him every time. And you don't have to run him through the boards, but you're going to make it sluggish on him. When he wants to try to jump into the play, you got your little arm on him. You make him work to get what he's going to get. So I think, we know that there's been some question marks, whether it's CC, Labushkin, Dumba, if you're going to put in Petro and Bichsel. I had no problem with Petro. I really don't. I think he plays a steady game. I watched him play the other night. Do you know how many times guys didn't get to the front of the net because he just seals guys out? I like that, and I think Jake would like that. So, but that doesn't mean that what we're going to see. I think I don't even know if there's an edge either way or the other, but I kind of lean towards the D group in Colorado because I think maybe they're healthy. They played together a lot. Because you just brought it up. If you've got question marks about it, I think coaches obviously do too.
I think so. Sean, what do you think about the blue line for the Stars and where they're at as far as we know Miro's not an option right now. Now, maybe down the road, if they can get deep into the series or beyond, maybe he is. It was encouraging for me just to see Miro on the ice before the practice because that's a step. We hadn't seen him. Now, maybe it's because they haven't had a lot of practice time lately and we haven't been there that early. But seeing Miro out there, they could have done it at an earlier time to really try to avoid him being seen. I think there was some calculation into that as well, don't you?
Guest has themselves.
Guest is on mute again. Start again, Sean. Start over after being unmuted.
No, that was me. I muted myself because I was clacking away. I was clacking away at my keyboard. No,
which is appreciated.
I was checking something. I was checking something on my keyboard while you guys were talking. I didn't want to make it sound like there's an earthquake happening. So you're thinking that there's something more to Miro practicing that they're trying to not show us, or I'm confused by the question.
No. I actually think that it's a tiny little Miro's they've said he's been skating. Nobody's been outside of the team. You're getting beyond that. I just think it's nice to see him there. I don't think that there's anything close. Yeah. What I'm saying is, it's good to just see that he is in the public spot. He was standing watching practice. We haven't seen him.
Yeah, that's a bad thing.
No.
Yeah, I don't want him standing on the other side of the glass.
I'm just talking about long term. But you guys are losing the plot here. The guys that are available, it's not Miro, right? Mm-hmm. So,
yes.
What are your thoughts about what the group has and what they're trying to do going into the series?
Well, I've heard enough of Lud's conversations this year about how they play defensively around their own net and some of the issues that might come from their approach. And I can't help but think Alex Petrovic has spent not enough time around this coaching staff to realize what they're trying to get him to do. He's playing
the way
they want.
That's why he's in the right places, Sean.
Yeah. He's playing the way they played in Texas all year. So that's that. I just can't help but laugh at that, where Alex Petrovic is doing what he's done all year with the Texas Stars, and so he hasn't been coached to go the wrong way based off some of the conversations and one of the many Lud's rants that we could just play a highlight reel of. So I think there's not a big difference in this series, whether it's, I do think there's a difference whether Bichsel plays or not. But if you have Petrovic versus Smith versus Dumba and everything like that, to me, Bichel's the important one, just as far as on that, the element he adds defensively from a physical element. I know there are some things he has to learn, and there are some things he has to figure out when it comes to his timing and when to jump in here and there, especially for the big hit. But when you need that element back there, right? You need part of that in your core. And this defense is going to have to survive until Miro gets back. And then they've put so much pressure on Miro being perfect when he gets back that we have to hope that he is at least 85% of what Miro is. Because I think they can win this series if Miro is out for 3 or 4 games. I don't think they can win this series if Miro's out for 7 games. So I look at that on the back end right now, and I just can't help but think. Go ahead, let's.
No, I was going to say for
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
that Sean just said
Mhm.
is more reason you make sure you play a territorial strong game, and it's 55-45 or it's 60-40 that you're playing on that half of the rink versus your own. And the same for Jake. Let Jake get in his rhythm and get his head good or have his head stay good and take things away, because when you bring up Lyubushkin, CC, let's say Petrovic, Dumba, and you've got Val Nichushkin coming down that side of the ice. You have Marty Natchez coming down that side of the ice. Those are hard dudes to handle, right? And not only that, you're going to have McKinnon coming down that side of the ice at times too. He's all over the ice, and he's going to stop on a dime, and he's going to cut back, and that's why I think that when you cover guys, it's hard to cover Nate McKinnon one-on-one. I don't care who you are. The one guy that isn't playing right now. So he's going to create mismatches. He's going to create when other guys that don't have Nate McKinnon coming into the zone, they're not going to be looking at him. They're going to be looking at the guy that they're supposed to be with. That creates problems. So I just think there's strength in numbers against a lot of these guys, which unfortunately that's not the way it works all the time.
The guys you didn't mention were Lindell, Harley, and Bichsel. How much is on their shoulders in this series?
Oh, a ton. And Essa's going to be Essa, right? The one fear I have with Thomas is if he tries to do too much. I want him to be able to reserve and keep some gas in the tank, and generally he does. I mean, he's a guy that he's very different than Miro when I talk about all the time in the defensive zone. Harley makes a pass out of the zone. Miro skates it out of the zone. So it's not that part. It's when games maybe aren't going the way that the team wants them to go, and so you'll see Harley keep the puck a little bit more, and then he kind of gets down, he carries the puck, which he can do all of that, but I think you need him back in the other end also, defending and not running around and chasing around. Essa is Essa. I mean, Essa treats the game like it's shorthanded, and he's one of the best shorthanded players in the league, so he does that. Now, a guy that can have an impact, and what we see little mistakes from Bichsel because of the way Lian's going to have to learn that when he turns to guys, he's got to kind of take it where his feet are pointing back towards his net. Right now, he wants to turn and take a 90-degree to forwards on the wall, and sometimes he misses them. And that creates races coming back. But his physical presence and where he's really good is he knows that he's supposed to seal guys out in front of the net. You watch him, he makes when he's in that area of the ice, when he gets outside, which is where he's supposed to go, but when he's in the right area, he makes it difficult. I would think Otter loves that. And I think against that pair, if they played the normal system and they stayed at home, I know I say normal.
I'm laughing.
I know. But what those two guys would do, Jake would have better sight lines in front of the net. That'd be my opinion if they did that.
Sean, Jared Bednar, Pete DeBoer, they've played against each other before. They did it last year. Are there any surprises? Is this just two teams trying to make the right adjustments, but they know does everybody know who all the cards that everybody's holding?
To an extent. I mean, it's the Avalanche obviously have a much better idea of what Gabriel Landeskog will actually be, right? Like, is Gabe, and when I'm fascinated to see Landeskog's usage once he's in this series. I mean, it would be a tremendous story if he comes back and he plays and he looks like the old Gabe Landeskog. But the Avalanche aren't going to tell us. Of course, the Avalanche are going to call him an option and NC and all this, but they're the ones that know better than what he is, and the Stars know better what Sagan and the realistic timeline with Miro and everything like that is. So there's a little bit. I mean, for me, the coaching breakdown that's interesting here is I think Pete DeBoer is a good in-series manager. I think he's a good alterations between games type guy, which is one of the reasons he has such a good Game 7 record. You've seen him willing to make adjustments between Game 6 and 7, and he's done that. But I think Jared Bednar is a much better in-game manager. There's times where Pete gets kind of stuck in his ways, and we're going to fight, we're going to grind through this, my mentality for this game, and then we reset after the game. So I think from a coaching perspective, I give a slight edge to Colorado because I think early on right now there's going to be some in-game adjustments right off the bat as you feel things out. So cards are on the table, you know who you are, yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day right now, I keep coming back to the fact where I don't see how Nathan MacKinnon doesn't have 10 points in this series. I just like, that's the reality. Like, Nathan MacKinnon is going to get his. He's going to be a point per game guy, probably more. And for me, it's the question is the Stars, are you going to outscore that? Or are you going to limit everyone else where it's just a Nathan MacKinnon show? And I don't know but that's the two ways the Stars have to win it. And those are the two options I think Pete DeBoer is staring at right now.
Sean, is it fair to say that Jake is going to have to be the best Dallas Star in this series?
I think so. Yeah, that's 100% fair.
Yeah. And I don't think Blackwood's going to have to be the best Colorado Avalanche.
Yes.
Because they have, because of the guys that we talked about that they have. And again, I if that's the case, let's help Jake be the best player in this series. That's what I'm hoping for.
Will be interesting.
And we're not even talking about the secret weapon if he comes back for Colorado.
Well,
I mean, it's not a secret, but we're not even talking about the guy.
It's sort of a secret weapon, and we'll talk about it next, and then we're going to humble ourselves with our preseason predictions revisited here on DLLS.
Let's just skip that segment.
Yeah.
But first, let's talk about being a diehard. No better time to sign up to be a diehard than right now. Sean is showing you how to scan the QR code. $36 special introductory offer going on right now, all the way up through next week, which is the NFL draft starts on Thursday. And so 36. Yep. Sean doesn't have any special hand gestures with, fireworks and everything going off for that. But it's a great time to save money on your diehard subscription. And there's a lot of things you can do. Yeah, look at that. One of the things you can do is join our Stanley Cup playoff bracket group, which is only available to diehards, and you can get all the login information, the password in the Discord channel. So if you become a diehard, you get access to our diehard-only Discord lounge in the Stars channel in that said Discord. It's a great community. It's a lot of the people that are chatting on our show, whether it be pregame, postgame, or daily shows, and they have Sean actually set up the NCAA Frozen Four bracket. Big success for that. Tyler got the win. And then one of our diehards, Ben, not GM Ben, set up this before I went to make a league yesterday, and Ben had already set it up. So if you're not a diehard already, sign up. If you are, go into the Discord. If you don't know how to find it in the Discord, just ask. Say, hey, need help finding the Stanley Cup playoff bracket, and we can all make our picks. But they lock in tomorrow, so you don't have a lot of time. Sean, you make sure you sign up as well. And let's talk about playoff T-shirts, because you can get a free T-shirt when you sign up to be a diehard for your first year. You can get one like the DLS flag, or the Stars have two new drop shirts right now. It is the Moose from Mikko Rantanen and the Captain Jamie Benn with, yes, I know that's the visor, but still sharp-looking shirts. Sign up. I was going to show you to you, but they're not there. There they are.
I lost them.
Here on DLLS. Okay. You guys mentioned Jake had to be the best player on the ice. We're going to get to our picks in just a second. I spoke to a couple players this morning. I talked to Duchesne and Sagan, and then went over and said something to Lian Bichsel, and Colin Blackwell was one I said hi to. And I asked Blackwell what he thought was one of the most important factors of this series coming up. And he immediately
Did he say
said,
that I'm in the lineup?
He immediately said special teams.
Yeah. Always is.
And I think of Jake, special teams, goaltending, penalty kill, how important that is.
He had the best save percentage shorthanded this year. So he's got to continue to do that. There's no question. They're going to get their chances. When you have MacKinnon and Makar on the ice, unfortunately they're on the ice together, which should be illegal, but they're going to create chances. It's just the way it is. And then you throw in Natchez and Heiskanen and whoever else they're going to have out there. And if they get the other guy back, I don't know if he plays on the power play, but regardless of that, it's important. So really, stay out of the box, and again, if you're going to take the hooking, if you're going to take the tripping, it's generally coming from chasing from behind. Mm-hmm. So the position of the players for the Dallas Stars, for me, are going to be hugely important in this series.
Sean, the guy that he's not Lord Voldemort here, but the guy who we haven't named is Gabe Landeskog, the captain of the Avalanche. We had a segment yesterday. We were talking about the impact of Sagan coming back from injury. Obviously, Landeskog has been out for a much longer period of time. Coach couple of people observing practice in Denver today before they traveled today. I thought they might come earlier. They did not. Said that he was wearing green, which indicates to them that he's still not expected for game one. Then they asked Jared Bednar, and he said that he is an option for every game in this series, but that, including game one, but that there probably won't be any type of announcement beforehand. Shocker. What do you think of the impact of Gabe Landeskog, since you didn't get to chime in on that yesterday?
And I kind of alluded to it a little bit before, but I think it's more of an emotional lift for them. He's back in that room, and the first time he's in a lineup, that place, that locker room and that arena is kind of been. So let's pretend for game. Say he's back. Say he's in the lineup for game 3. That building is going to go absolutely crazy. That's the games, and I didn't watch I didn't like micromanage and watch his shift from his AHL stint, but reading about it and seeing some of the highlights, he played a solid conditioning stint with the Colorado Eagles. So the thing that is interesting to me, and Luds might have some perspective on this, is if he's not going for game 1, how many games can he go is my question. That's kind of where I come at it from this, because it's been a week since he played those 2 AHL games, right? So if he really needs 10 days between games or something like that to get going, is this a Landeskog is making a cameo in the series for a game or two and needs that much time to recover, and having played the 2 games with the AHL team has put him this long of a delay? I guess not knowing the inner workings of his knee and not knowing what the Avalanche aren't telling us, to me, I don't understand why unless you think, hey, we don't know he's a guarantee for game 3 if we play him in game 1. And that's kind of where I'm reading between the lines here and trying to guess on that, because it's odd to me for him not to be in game 1 when, just like the rest of the Avalanche, he hasn't played a game in 6 days.
It's an interesting thought.
I think he's playing game 3. You bring him on the road.
Yep.
He's around the guys, all that, communicate, and having a guy back in the fold.
And
you
skating
come out,
with the group.
Everything. You're a player, and you're TBD, and you come out you come on the ice in game 3 in Colorado. You think the fans aren't going to, and to me, the worst case scenario is, and again, this should be a long series. Yeah. I mean, worst case scenario is Colorado finds a way to get 1 game out of Dallas here. You go home for game 3, you're tied 1-1, and then you get this guy to come on the ice. I mean, it's going to be a buzz every time he steps on the ice. And then you can go ahead and, who do they have? A Parker Kelly, Kivi Ranta. You take one of those 2 out of the lineup and you insert them there on the left side with whoever. Put them out there with Coyle, and you got a third line with Landeskog out there, and maybe he gets power play or however they decide to use him. But I just think it's an emotional thing for that club. And if that does happen, then Dallas has got to be prepared for it. And the best way to do that is you spend, if it's in their building, you spend the first 5 minutes in their zone, and then people kind of sit down a little bit. So we'll see how that plays out.
Well, it should be fun tomorrow night. Right now, we have to embarrass ourselves a little bit, or not. We'll see.
Well, I make a living out of that.
I haven't looked in a while, but I'm positive that these aren't great. So our producer John has saved these as a good producer would. We had to make our preseason predictions for the NHL before things got going back in early October. So, John, take it away.
Would we like to start with our little buddy?
Yes.
Mainly because you guys can dump all over this and then immediately have to look your own predictions in the face.
Let's make fun of Sam first.
Here was Sam's. By the way, also, we can take a look at my graphic design skills from September and how far they've come. But this was Sam's predictions.
So Sam had the Oilers and Stars winning the division, along with the Rangers and Panthers. And
so you're saying that none of those were right?
Correct.
Okay.
He has the Stars winning the Cup, and he had, let's see, Rangers,
out,
Utah,
Vancouver's
Preds,
out,
Vancouver,
out,
Boston,
out.
Philly. Oh, boy.
New York's out. I'm not laughing because I'm sure I was just
I'm laughing because I
think
picked some of those teams, including Utah.
So he missed on 1, 2, 3, 4,
Didn't
5,
he have the Rangers
6.
in the
he
final?
Missed on 6.
He
missed on 6.
I think Sam had Rangers in the final.
I took him to win the
Well,
Cup
we're gonna
because you
show
guys
you
all
in a
picked
minute.
Dallas. So that's why I did it. I just want
we're all a bunch of
everybody to
homers.
know. Everybody took Dallas, so I decided to take the Rangers.
I know I did not pick Dallas.
Okay,
As
so
John's
John, who are we
graphic
going to go
shows.
with next?
Well, so if you recall, when we did that segment, Luds changed to Rangers during the segment. So the graphic still says Stars on it. But here was Luds.
No, I changed it because everybody picked the. Oh wait,
yeah,
no.
but the graphic was made already.
Hey, let's applaud. Luddy had Winnipeg making the playoffs because I'm pretty sure I didn't. So that's right. We all, I think, got fooled by the Rangers and the Preds and the Canucks.
4, 5.
Oh, the Islanders, Luds.
Yeah, I got 5.
You went with your buddy
wrong.
Patrick.
I got 5 wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Well, they only missed by a point. They didn't miss by a landslide like
the Preds.
Yeah, like the
30
Preds.
points out of the playoffs.
Boston wasn't real close either. I don't
No,
think.
they really weren't. But we all, I think, fell that way. And you made the change and said, I'm going to go with Rangers winning over the Stars.
For the cup?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
That was
So
only
Luds and
because
Sam
you
had
guys
had
all
the same
took
division
Dallas.
winners as well.
Same division winners, right? So 0 for 4 in the division, which is always a start. I'm pretty sure mine's not going to be much better. John, you're in charge of this one.
Yeah, we'll go to Owen next then.
Let's go to me. Yep, I got 0 for 4 in the division too. I had the Avalanche winning. At least I gave Colorado some credit.
You took Winnipeg.
Barely, yeah. I
Well, you
think I
took
had them
them.
as a wild card team. I thought Nashville was going to finish 3rd in the division.
We all did.
Really got what? Sean, I was giving your Red Wings some credit. I thought they'd sneak in, and nobody had the Washington Capitals being anywhere near a playoff spot, let alone winning the Eastern Conference.
Did everyone have the Predators in? Let's see, Luds
I
did.
think so.
Sam did.
Yep. And then, of course, I had Panthers Stars in the final.
Did anybody have a division?
Did
target?
Did
Yeah,
I
let's
not
go-
have, did I not have one in there?
Let's go to Sean.
Let's see how wrong I am. Okay.
Sean got a division winner. He got the Pacific right. So Sean got the Vegas Golden Knights. His other 2 division winners on the Eastern Conference side don't look so hot because neither of them made the playoffs.
Nope.
6. I think 2 guys had the playoff teams at 5 wrong, and 2 guys might have had 6.
6 out of
Man, we
out
are
of
no
16.
good. We're no good.
So 9 or 10 or 11 right.
no good.
I've got 6
Oh,
wrong.
wait. No, he might have 7 wrong.
He had the Penguins there. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Along with
wait.
the Flyers. So
He's-
the Philadelphia
Sean's got
Pittsburgh.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wrong.
So let's see. The Rangers, Flyers, Penguins, Bruins, Canucks, Predators, Utah
Rangers.
Hockey Club.
Rangers.
That's 7. 7 wrong.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Why is everybody listening to me count? You guys can speak up anytime.
Because we're all fascinated.
I thought
So,
you were going to miss a number. That's why.
1, 2, 3.
Sean,
4,
how do you feel about your picks now,
5, 6,
especially with the
7.
Oilers as the Stanley Cup champion?
There's 7 wrong there.
I still have my champion from before in, so I guess I'm
Technically, everyone.
Technically, everybody
Yes.
but Luds.
Yeah,
And if your graphic still says Stars,
Luds
even
has
though you
plausible
changed it.
deniability if the Stars.
But I changed it that day. I changed it
did.
at the end.
Yeah.
So I don't know what John's complaining
Well,
about.
no,
No,
the
no, we're
graphic
not
was made
complaining. We're
already.
saying we still have our Stanley Cup champions in play, even if we have a large amount of the playoff teams wrong.
I don't.
So-
oh, yeah.
Okay,
Well, I'm
so-
just being honest. I didn't do that.
That leads to the last question. And John, I don't know if you have quick access to the bracket we had yesterday of the.
No, it's gone.
Okay. So we'll say it without a visual. Of the Stanley Cup playoff teams right now, compared to who you thought, who are the biggest surprises that are in the playoffs or in the spots they're in to you in a minute? Is it Winnipeg
No,
winning everything?
well,
Is it Washington?
No, for me, I didn't think Minnesota would make it. I didn't think St. Louis would make it.
St. Louis is a huge surprise. to
Yeah,
me.
I'm we talking from the beginning?
From the picks we made until now.
Yeah, I mean, I think both those teams. Well, yeah, both those teams for me are surprises. Let's see, in the other side.
I don't think I thought much of Ottawa at the time.
Yeah, that's a surprise.
But they've really, as the season unfolded,
That's a
I started
surprise.
to drink the Ottawa Kool-Aid as they have a chance here. They're a pretty good team, but at the preseason, no chance. Sean, what about you in 20 seconds or so?
You know what? I didn't have Montreal in there.
Yeah, I don't
That
think
to me-
anybody had
That to
that.
me is a big one. I think that's and good for them.
John?
And in 15 seconds, good for Montreal.
Yeah, Montreal, quite a surprise.
Yeah.
All right, so that's going to wrap things up for today. But boy, do we have a lot coming up for you because we have Game 1 tomorrow night. It's a 7:30 Central Time start We'll do a 6:45 pregame show right here, and then we'll see game 1 and the post game afterwards, and then Sean will be here next week for game 2 and onward. It'll be a lot of fun here on DLS. For Craig, for Sean, for Sam, for John, I'm Owen. Have a great one.
Who are you people? We all silly like the mayor.